As the world gets hotter, the challenge is going to be that we're going to need increased cooling.
By 2050, there's going to be triple the amount of air conditioners in the world than today. And that's equivalent to all the energy that the US, Japan, and Europe use today. It's also equivalent to 10 air conditioners being sold every second from now to 2050.
And that'll have substantial impacts in terms of our global resources. And so what we're trying to do is to say, can we actually find a sustainable cooling pathway so that we can meet the cooling needs without compromising our environment?
The whole world is exposed to the sun, and that has consequences when the climate is changing.
I grew up in Indonesia, where the high temperature is 30 degrees all year long. Switching on AC on a hot day and take a nap in an air conditioning room, you can feel this cold breeze. It's nice, it's refreshing. It's in my memory forever how comforting that technology is.
No matter what the conditions are outside, the temperature inside is always just right, just the way you want it.
I personally am not very good at standing heat. If there's a barbecue, I will be in the shade. The problem with cooling is that its demand is growing hugely and globally, and we are all relying on a single technology.
Modern air conditioning technology has been around for close to 120 years now, with little change.
It's silly to suffer from the heat when you can afford the modest cost of air conditioning.
Air conditioners use refrigerants that have high global warming potential, thousands of times more intense than carbon dioxide. Secondly, they use lots of energy, so our energy grids are not prepared to support this amount of air conditioning. My research looks into passive cooling systems, which are cooling alternatives that use minimal amount of energy. So these are more sustainable for the future. This is sometimes low-tech, sometimes high-tech. Typical examples are shading devices or ventilation, but there's some more fancy ones. For example, radiative cooling panels on roofs, and those actually throw the heat back into space. And then at a personal level, having cool beverages, optimizing your clothes, and perhaps even the colors that you use.
It's also important to design buildings according to local climate, because at the moment the way it works is that you design a building pretty much the same all over the world. That would increase the air conditioning demand. So you cannot design a building first and then install air conditioning later on. You need to consider them as one package.
The solution to the cooling challenge is going to have a mixture of different perspectives. It's going to need policymakers to engage and implement. It's going to need new technologies to take forward and that decarbonize our energy systems. And it's going to need people's behaviors and norms also to change.
I think that the solutions to this global problem will be more localized by designing buildings according to the local climate, by designing technology taking into account the local culture.
The scale of the problem is enormous, so the scale of the ambition and solution has to match.